Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Clara Bennett, heiress to a vast fortune, had always lived under the weight of her family's scrutiny and expectations. Every gesture, every smile seemed calculated, dictated by the wealth and prestige of her name. But behind this glittering luxury lay a profound loneliness, an emptiness that money could not fill. One stormy evening, as she fled a society party where she felt like nothing more than an object, she met Lucas Harper. He was kind, funny, and disabled since a car accident a few years earlier. His eyes shone with a sincerity Clara had never seen in the gilded salons of her life. Without meaning to, she felt drawn to him. Lucas, for his part, knew nothing of her true identity. To him, Clara was simply a kind, generous, and caring woman who didn't judge his situation. Little by little, she fell in love with him, fascinated by his inner strength and his ability to smile despite hardships. But Clara knew she couldn't reveal her true self. Her family's wealth and social standing imposed constraints she couldn't ignore. So she made a bold choice, to marry Lucas, but to conceal her identity as a wealthy woman. She wanted to love simply, far from pretense and judgment. This marriage, which they all called a simple union of the heart, became a secret world where pure love still existed. But how long could she keep this secret? And how long before the weight of the truth shattered their fragile happiness? Lucas Harper lived in a small, bright apartment filled with books and souvenirs from trips he could no longer take since his accident. Despite his paralyzed leg, he maintained a calm, almost tranquil smile that drew people in like a magnet. But his life was simple, sometimes monotonous, until the day Clara entered his world. She hadn't mentioned her wealth. To Lucas, she was simply a kind-hearted young woman who had offered to help him organize his birthday and furnish his apartment. Every gesture from Clara, every act of kindness, seemed natural and sincere. He had no idea that beneath her simple clothes hid an heiress capable of changing anyone's destiny with a single gesture. As the weeks went by, they spent a lot of time together. Clara laughed at his clumsy jokes, helped him reach things out of his reach, and most of all, listened. Lucas was used to people looking at him with pity, but Clara saw none of that. She saw the man he truly was. One evening, as the rain beat against the windows, they found themselves cooking together. Laughter echoed in the kitchen, filling the apartment with a warmth neither of them had ever known before. Lucas, without realizing it, began to feel something he hadn't felt since his accident: hope, joy, love. Clara, for her part, felt her heart beat faster with every smile from Lucas, with every sincere word he spoke. She knew she was playing with fire by hiding his identity, but she couldn't bring herself to end this budding happiness. Every moment spent with him made her more determined to protect this secret, to live this love, even if this lie risked destroying everything one day. And that evening, while they were still laughing at a failed recipe, Clara thought silently, "I love him. More than anything. And I'll do everything to make sure he never knows the truth, not yet." But fate, as always, had its own plans. The weeks passed, and the gentle, easy routine they shared seemed almost unreal. Lucas began to confide more in Clara. He told her about his past dreams, his travels, his regrets, and his fear of being alone forever. Clara listened, sometimes squeezing his hand, feeling that their bond was becoming unbreakable. But behind her smiles, a dark cloud hung over her. Her family, the Bennetts, had never accepted her associating with someone outside her social class. And she knew that just one curious person would be enough to discover her secret and shatter their happiness. One evening, while they were having dinner in Lucas's living room, a strange message vibrated on Clara's phone. The name displayed was familiar: Margaret Bennett to the aunt. "Clara, where are you?" the message said, followed by a simple "We need to talk." Clara felt her heart clench. She knew what it meant: Margaret had discovered something, or at least suspected something. She put down her phone and stared at Lucas, her heart pounding. "It's just my aunt. She wanted to check that I'm fine," she said, trying to smile. Lucas nodded, but his worried gaze never left her. You seem preoccupied, he said softly. Oh, it's nothing, really. But Clara knew the lie was starting to take its toll. Every moment spent with Lucas made her happier, but also more vulnerable. And that simple message reminded her that sooner or later, the truth would come knocking. The next day, Margaret Bennet arrived. Her heels clicked on the parquet floor, her impeccable dress contrasting with the simplicity of Lucas's apartment. She stared at Clara with an intensity that made the heiress tremble. Clara, we need to talk about your life choices, she said, her voice icy. Lucas, sensing the tension, frowned. Who are you? He asked. Clara felt her face turn pale. Everything was about to change. The secret she had so carefully protected risked being revealed in front of the man she loved, and everything they had built could collapse in an instant. And in that silent moment, Clara understood that love might not be enough to protect a heart from the judgments of the world. Margaret Bennet's presence in Lucas's apartment was like a silent storm. She watched Clara with a mixture of reproach and curiosity, while Lucas stood motionless, trying to understand the situation. Clara, Margaret began, in a sharp voice, you can't go on like this. This life you're leading, this lie. Aunt. I. Stammered Clara, her heart pounding. Break. You're not listening to me. Margaret interrupted. You are married to a man who deserves the truth, and you dare to hide. Who are you? Lucas felt a shiver run down his spine. He looked at Clara, whose eyes shone with a fear he had never seen before. What is she talking about? Asked Lucas, the voice trembling. Lucas. Clara searched for her words, unable to lie more. There's something you need to know about me. Margaret, ruthless, did not let Clara finish her sentence. She's rich, Lucas. Very rich. All her life, her world, and she didn't tell you anything. Silence fell like a guillotine. Lucas remained frozen, his gaze alternating between Clara and his aunt. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place, the simple dinners, the seemingly modest outings, all the little gestures of kindness. Clara had always been different, and now he understood why. Why, didn't you tell me? Asked Lucas, the hoarse voice, mixed with anger and pain. Clara lowered the eyes, tears threatening to fall. Because I wanted you to love me for me, not for my wealth. She murmured. I wanted us to be just the two of us, without a shadow of my family or money. Lucas stepped back slightly, breathless. His anger was immense, but mixed with a profound incomprehension. You played with me, he said, his voice breaking. Everything, back then, were you hiding who you really were from me? Clara shook her head, trying to make him understand her sincerity. No. I love you, Lucas. I love you more than anything. That's why I didn't say anything. I wanted it to be only us. Lucas looked at his trembling hands, feeling the ground give way beneath his feet. He loved Clara, he was sure of it, but the betrayal he felt was like a knife in his heart. And as he turned away to hide his tears, Clara understood that their love had just faced its first real test. Margaret, pleased to sow doubt, took a step back, leaving the couple facing each other in a tense silence. The happiness they had built seemed to be faltering, and Clara knew that the next step would determine whether their love would survive the truth. After the confrontation, a heavy silence hung in the apartment. Lucas sat on the sofa, staring blankly ahead, while Clara stood with trembling hands. She was afraid he would never forgive her, that he would reject everything they had built together. Lucas. I know I made a mistake, but everything what I did was out of love for you. I just wanted to that you love me for me. Her voice was weak, almost a murmur. Lucas remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he raised his eyes to her. His eyes shone with emotion, a mixture of anger, confusion, and something deeper, tenderness. Clara, he said finally, in a deep voice, I was hurt. Yes. I feel betrayed. But I can't deny this that I feel for you. Clara felt her heart leap. She stepped towards him and knelt beside him. I promise you, Lucas. I won't hide anything anymore. Everything I want to share who I am with you. Not just the wealth, everything. Lucas took her hand, squeezing her fingers tightly. And I want to stay with you. No matter how much money you have, no matter your family. I love you for who you are. Tears streamed down Clara's cheeks. She collapsed against him, and for the first time in weeks, a feeling of peace filled her heart. Their love, tested by so many trials, had just proven its strength. A few days later, Margaret Bennet returned one last time. But this time, she found Lucas confident, holding hands with Clara. She understood that nothing could separate this couple, and that there was no point in continuing to interfere. And as Clara and Lucas stood side by side, watching the sun set through the apartment's large windows, Clara realized that true love isn't measured by wealth, status, or secrets. It's measured by the sincerity of hearts and the strength of commitment. That evening, Lucas whispered to Clara. The outside world doesn't matter, as long as I have you, I am rich. Clara smiled, her eyes shining with happiness and hope. Their journey was not over, but now they knew that together they could overcome any storm.